Welcome back, everyone. It is cold and flu season. We're going to talk with Dr. Daniel Callisto, Lima Pediatrics, with us today. Get the scoop on what we need to know. First of all, you and I were talking before we came on. It kind of ebbs and flows. It seems like we're hearing it's one of the more nasty flu seasons, or flu strain anyway.
Yes, it seems to be, and that's true for pretty much the entire country, with the exception of the West Coast, where it's still bad, but not quite as bad as it is here. In our particular region, we're seeing quite a number of influenza cases in the whole eastern seaboard. I guess Missouri and the West Coast are pretty much the only places where it's a little bit less, but it's still pretty bad.
So we all need to head there, don't we? We hear every year that it's a different strain. Kind of explain that. And are there certain symptoms that may be a little rougher with specific strains?
Not so much the symptoms, but the penetration might be a little bit different. We might see more cases because a strain might be more virulent than perhaps the strain the year before. Plus, the vaccines are oftentimes kind of a guesswork in terms of which strains they're going to be able to cover. And you never know for sure until the season starts if you're going to be hitting it correctly. Although they do a fairly good job in Atlanta of breaking that out.
We talked before I came on that a lot of people, like myself, I don't know why, we're hesitant to get flu shots, but tell us, is there a real benefit to that?
There certainly is, and it's recommended still to, even at this stage in the game, to get flu shots. We're still seeing influenza cases, and we will continue to for the next several months. One of the main objections people have, or that you hear, is, well, I got the flu shot and I was fine, then after the shot I got the flu.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen, okay.
No, what generally happens is you may have been exposed to some viral illness, an upper respiratory tract infection, coincidentally prior to the immunization, and the immunization won't cover that because, you know, it's usually some other type of virus, like an adenovirus or rhinovirus or whatever.
You deal with pediatrics. Are there groups like kids, maybe the elderly might be a little more susceptible? It's even more important?
Absolutely, yeah. The younger the child and the older the individual, the more likely there are to be complications from influenza, and that's what where the main problem is. The influenza itself is bad enough, but then you can develop secondary bacterial infections or more severe viral infections as a result of a weakened immune system.
And I've heard people say, you mentioned that it's not too late to get a flu shot, but I've heard people say that that's why they don't, it's too late for me now. Is there a specific amount of time that has to lapse before it is effective? I mean, if I get a shot today, am I okay by tomorrow, or does it take a little time?
No, it'll take a little bit of time for your body to gear up, but you'll still be better off in a week or so than you would have been if you hadn't gotten it.
We hear so much about hand washing. Everyone says, make sure you wash your hands. It seems so simple. Is that one of the main things other than the flu shot? It is.
This is spread by what we call droplets. So there needs to be fairly close contact between the infected individual and the susceptible individual for transmission of the disease. It's not really aerosolized in the air. It's more in droplets. It can exist on surfaces for a period of time as well. So when you cough or sneeze, and most people will cover themselves with their hands, that puts it on your hands.
Okay.
And then you will be able to transmit that droplet to another person, either by shaking hands or whatever, and the other person will touch their face, and as we do 100 times a day.
Sure. And we hear about sneezing into your arm. Does that make sense? Does that help? Is there
well,
a way not to?
We don't generally shake elbows, so
That's
I guess
right, yeah. That's probably true. That's probably true. The other thing that I hear is you'll have people that you know in your workplace are sick, yet they still struggle, they martyr themselves, and they come to work. Should those people just stay home, or are they going to help us out by just...
Yeah, especially if you're having a high fever and all the other signs of influenza. It's more than just a cold. You know, you get the coughing, the fever, the muscle aches and pains, we call it myalgia, the fatigue, all those things that go along with influenza, which you don't generally see with just common cold.
Okay, well, I think you've convinced me I'm going to get a flu shot. I appreciate it. Hey, thanks for coming. All right.